Welcome back, everyone. I'm Tom Murphy, and this is Trinidad Now on Trinidad Times Television. With me today, Jackson Pixley, candidate for City Council. Jackson, thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. As I've explained to all the other candidates, I've just read through the questions with you, so we're going to go through this. And I just keep repeating this for all the candidates, but understand you may not have some answers to some of these questions because you haven't been on council. So for incumbents, they might know the answers. The reason I'm asking this is because I don't want people to come back at me and say, I treated you differently than I treated somebody else. And it's okay not to know the answers to some of these things. So with that being said, we're going to jump into your personal background. So Jackson, tell me, where were you born? Where have you lived? Where were you educated? Are you married? Do you have children? Hopefully you're too young to have grandchildren, I'm assuming, but I don't know that to be a fact, so.
So I was born in a small rural town in Iowa, in the middle of a cornfield. Born and raised there, graduated high school, went to college at the University of Northern Iowa, where I graduated with degrees in ecology and systematics, which is essentially math. Shortly after college, I was heading west to move to California. My car broke down, wound up in Colorado. And I've been here more or less ever since. I did travel around. I've lived in quite a few states, including, I did eventually make it to California for 4 years. Mm-hmm. I've lived in West Virginia, Tennessee, Minnesota, back to Iowa, and my current stint in Colorado now has been for the last 7 years, the last 2 of which I have spent in Trinidad, Colorado.
It has a way of grabbing people. I mean, you didn't break down here in Trinidad, but I know a number of people whose cars broke down and they end up living here, so pretty similar story.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. And, again, I grew up in a small town, so I felt really at home here from the second I moved here. I actually took a job here is how I wound up here. I was the general manager for Freedom Road Gardens.
Okay.
Opened up and successfully managed 2 stores and a large grow here in town.
Okay. Where in Iowa?
A little town called Northwood, Iowa. North central Iowa, right along the Minnesota border.
Okay.
So
I'm originally from eastern South Dakota and spent many a weekend at Okoboji. So, so I'm familiar with that part of the country.
Very nice, yeah. Spent quite a few 4th of Julys in Okoboji.
We might have crossed paths because I was there probably summer of '82
and I've even
for
been
4th
to the
of July.
Corn Palace in Mitchell.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to work on the railroad right out of high school.
Oh, really?
In South Dakota. So.
Okay. All right. Cool. Is there anything else in your personal background? I don't want to cut you short on anything. So is there anything that we've left out that you want to talk about?
All I can really say is that I've worked in a large variety of fields, a lot of recreational and tourism type things. Again, I am college educated, and I've lived all over the place, which I think, unlike many of our other great candidates running for city council, I mean, a lot of these people have been here, and that's it.
Right.
And I've lived all over the place, even in Mexico for a stint. And I really think that seeing the world from many different perspectives is a positive.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, and if there's, as we move along, if there's anything that you want to go back, feel free, because the key to this is that you have time to talk, and that's what I want. I meet the candidates is great, but sometimes it's a little too short to really get to know the people. And since we have so many candidates, I want people to know who they're going to be voting for. So the next question, Jackson, is your past public involvement. Have you ever been elected to anything, appointed, voluntary, or other positions? Maybe where and when this happened?
This will be a pretty short answer. The answer is no.
Okay.
I have not. I mean, I was in student government in both high school and college. Aside from that, I have really very little involvement in public government.
Okay. Well, it's the first time for everybody eventually.
Everybody's got to start somewhere. That's
right.
And as you well know, I'm very excited about this town and this town's future. And I think that the best way for me to help is to get involved at this level.
Okay. So this next question, really, you're just starting to answer it there, is What is your reason for running for city council?
Well, I tell you, from the second I moved to town, I just see such a huge potential for this town. I really do. I mean, this town is, not to compare this town to any other place, because Trinidad is really very unique, right? But this town could be the next Salida or Taos or Crested Butte, and I saw all those towns before they were really big tourist draws. And everything from just the history and the culture in this town to the architecture to all of the public lands like Monument Lake and Trinidad Lake surrounding this place. I mean, there are so many reasons to come here, and I feel like right now they're not all being utilized. Okay, this town is, like it or not, this town is known as a pot town, and it can't always be that. Okay, there are way too many things going for this town than to simply be pegged as a pot town, and that's it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask you this next question in this similar fashion that I've asked everybody else. I've been, filming city council, and I've watched as they, move towards marijuana, and a lot of people have their personal view on marijuana, and that to me is the elephant in the room. What is your stance on marijuana?
Well, I'm very pro marijuana. As I mentioned, I moved down here to open up 2 stores in the cannabis industry, right? And so I feel very strongly about the medicinal benefits, of cannabis. I mean, it can't be disputed by anyone who knows even remotely anything about it, right? Recreationally speaking, I think it's a great thing as well. Certainly the tax revenue has been a huge boom to this town and will continue to be. One thing about the cannabis industry, I think our past city council has made quite a few missteps, right? For one, I don't think there should have been quite as many, okay? And I'll tell you why. There's almost 20 stores in this town. Right, which is the most per capita of anywhere in the world. So hence the whole marijuana capital of the world moniker that we've been placed with. What that's done to the market is, it's literally been a race to the bottom as far as pricing for all of these cannabis products. Okay, the average price of an ounce in this town is like $120. That's by far the lowest in the state. Okay, and the thing is, over 70% of our business in this town comes from out of state, and 90% of that comes from Texas, New Mexico, or Oklahoma. Okay, I've run all these analytics at my old store, so I'm not just making up numbers and throwing them at you. Okay. Sure. The thing is, just as many people were going to come here, whether there were 6 stores or 20 stores. So what you do is you got to figure, without such heavy competition between stores to get these tourist dollars, the average price of an ounce of pot would be closer to $170, $180, which means what? Which means our tax revenue would be 30, 40% higher than it currently is now. We're going to sell the same amount, but if we would have limited the amount of competition in town, and I'm all for fair market competition, I really am, but it did get a little out of hand. Right. And
let me interject something here, because I was there, and this isn't a debate, but just as an example, in New Mexico, we had a newspaper over there, and they had one liquor store, and this isn't an exact number, but let's say in New Mexico they only have 100 liquor licenses, and so now, and they were one of our clients. After we closed and they closed, they sold it, and it was worth a lot of money. When the city originally did this, they were saying 5 licenses, which would have made those 5 licenses very valuable. So there's 2 sides to that. In that, if they had limited it, then if you got a license, that would be worth a lot of money because you would sell it. And I agree with you. They bumbled, they stumbled, but we are where we are. So I guess that's a statement. The follow-up question is, what would you do now to rectify the number of stores?
Honestly, there's nothing we can't do, right? If you start taking away people's licenses and saying, "Hey, there's too many, you have to go away," you're going to get sued.
Right.
Right? They will sue the pants off of this city, which will cost us all of that tax revenue that we've made. So at this point, we've made our bed. We have to sleep in it, right?
Okay.
And that's fine. One thing that could get changed very easily, and in my opinion should, is the moratorium against cannabis clubs and events and things of that like. They stopped that. Again, as with most things I've seen, the fear of the unknown really causes our current city council to be very reactionary, and I don't think that's a good thing. We are known as the pot capital of the world, okay? You want to fight that? I don't see the point. Like, we need to embrace that. And we need to start thinking of ways to continue to springboard off of the success of these dispensaries with more tertiary businesses, such as the vape lounge that got shut down. I myself was actually running a cannabis event for a while. It was a monthly event.
Was that the downtown thing?
Yeah, I was
You were
drawing
okay.
200 people on a random Wednesday night every month, and half of those were from out of state.
Was that, we actually met, didn't we? You have a Harley.
Yes, sir.
We were, okay. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Well, the
Okay.
beard maybe is a little longer now.
Maybe, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I remember.
But that all got shut down, and again, because they didn't know or understand.
Right.
But what happens now, those 100 people a month that used to come, they don't come now? That
Right.
means they're not spending money at restaurants. They're not spending money at the shops. They're not spending money at the hotels. I mean, all of these, again, tertiary businesses
Right.
springing up around the cannabis industry are a good thing for this town. They're
Right.
going to bring more people in for more reasons than to just buy their cannabis and leave.
Right.
Right? We don't want that. As a tourist town, who encourages somebody to come to town for an hour and leave? It doesn't make any sense.
All right, let me play the devil's advocate here, because you know that there are some people that no matter what you tell them and what information you give them, they're against marijuana. And clearly some people are uncomfortable if we're saying, hey, come to Trinidad, and get high for a while. How will you appease the people that are just, no matter what you educate, how you educate them and with what you educate them with, that they're against it? How are you going to sell it to the people that are against it, that you want people to come here and be here for a day or two enjoying the product?
I think you just answered your own question. If these people cannot be appeased, why am I wasting my breath?
Right.
Okay? I mean, I think that just the amount of businesses that you see open on Main Street now as opposed to the 2 years ago when I moved here, it's huge. Okay?
Right.
The amount of empty buildings has dropped in half, is what at least is what it seems like to me.
Right.
And I think that should speak for itself. Okay? I think that the current economic boom, this town should answer that question to them.
Okay.
And again, I don't understand if you don't like marijuana, but I do understand that there's a lot of people like that.
Right.
And all I can do is encourage them to look at the facts, look at the numbers. In fact, call me.
Right.
Okay. I'm an industry expert. Okay. Call me and let's talk. Voice
Right.
your concerns to me. I mean, as a city council member, that's one of the things I think is really important, right? I mean, what are we as city council members? We're a voice for the people. So whether I agree with your opinion or not, I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Right? And I'd like to bring that to the attention of fellow city council members.
Well, there's more we're going to talk about in different segments as I went over on marijuana. So I don't want to hash out all of it right now. But this could be a really interesting conversation because I think you've got some interesting ideas. So, but we'll get back to this. As I was explaining earlier, I'm going to ask you some questions. It may seem like the same question, but it's just in a different area. The next question is really difficult for a lot of people, and that is, what should we do about the homeless and the panhandlers?
That is a tough question. You're absolutely right. And I have heard everything, some pretty absurd ideas from, putting them on a bus and shipping them to San Diego to, what we have to realize is a lot of these panhandlers, right, they are part of our community, okay? And we have to think along the lines of a community. Just because somebody is different than you or struggling does not make them any less or more a part of this community than yourself or myself, right? We absolutely have to take care of this problem. I live right down on Main in Santa Fe. I see the panhandlers every day. And honestly, I don't like it. Okay?
Right.
I'm You know, I don't like to see it. Okay, and I personally don't give them money. If I'm going to give somebody money, I'm going to give it to an organization that will help take care of these people. Okay, I do have one kind of crazy off the wall idea.
That's okay.
So Noah's Ark just received $400,000 towards building themselves a new shelter. Okay, which is great. Okay, both of my dogs are rescue dogs. Okay, one of which came from Noah's Ark itself. I think it's great. But a lot of people are like, why are we housing stray cats when we have stray people? Okay? And I agree with that. I don't think anybody's ever given thought to what about making it a joint shelter, right? We have a place for homeless people to go. We have our animal shelter. These people can trade room and board for working, volunteering at the animal shelter, you know, cleaning up poop, taking them for walks, etc.
Right.
Why not try to kill two birds with one stone? I mean,
Right.
that way we're not having to pay anybody, and at the same time, you know, all these, you know, all the assistance that we're giving to our homeless population, they can work. And what that does is it not only gives them room and board, it gives them a sense of purpose, which everybody needs. Okay. It gives them maybe a little more structure with their time. Okay, hey, you need to be up at 8 a.m. to clean the kennels or take all the dogs for a walk, something like that. So